Hey guys, Ben here from AuthenTech, and today I'll be showing you 5 tips and tricks when shooting with the latest and greatest GoPro HERO 6 Black. Now, I've been using this camera since it first came out, capturing a wide variety of scenes and products, from RC cars to yard tools to electric scooters and everything in between. I also created a few videos on this camera already, like a side-by-side comparison of it versus the previous gen HERO 5. And the TLDR, I actually did not like the HERO 5. I almost never used it, but this new 6, they made some fantastic improvements, and now it's my go-to camera for all my YouTube video action shots. So let's jump right in. Tip number 1. The EIS, or electronic image stabilization, on this new HERO 6 is unbelievable. It's basically going to help smooth out all your shots. Now, turning it on is super easy. Swipe left 2 times and toggle that stabilization on. There's just 2 caveats to remember. First, it sadly cannot be turned on when shooting 4K 60 FPS, but yes, it can be turned on when shooting 4K 30. This is normally where I'm at. Unless I have a predetermined shot to half-speed slow-mo, then I'll sacrifice the EIS in return for the 60 FPS. The second thing to note, it crops in about 10% on frame. Now, what's cool though is you can still set the field of view to super view, which is ultra wide if you need it. The stabilization is still turned on. Now, just to show you how amazing and impressive this EIS is, I've shot some side-by-sides for you, and seriously, for being only EIS and not optical stabilization, I find it very impressive. Sometimes the shots look so buttery smooth, it was almost like it was mounted on a motorized gimbal. Now, you can definitely notice the slight punch and crop that the EIS applies, but it's not terrible nor a deal breaker by any means. Next tip number 2, this action camera is one of the only right now that can shoot 240 frames per second at 1080p. Most other cameras need to step down to lower res for that incredible frame rate, like 720 or even lower. To maintain 1080p, which still looks fantastic by the way, the 240 FPS allows you to record slow motion shots and convert it on a 30p timeline, play back at 1/8 speed or about 12.5% slowdown. Details, color, dynamic range all still look really great, and when action shots are recorded at 240 FPS, playback always looks super cool in my opinion. Now, the one caveat here is unfortunately we can't turn on the EIS in the shooting mode, so your shots at normal speed could look a bit shaky, but thankfully when slowed down, a lot of those wobbles are less exaggerated and then don't look as bad. Tip number 3, you've got to remember that this is an ultra wide angle action camera. What a lot of people don't realize is that your everyday iPhone or smartphone camera has autofocus. That means when you point it at this landscape or far away object up close, or a person in between, it's hunting for focus and locks that focus on your shooting subject. With this GoPro HERO 6 and honestly most other action cams, the focus is locked and set to infinity. Basically what that means is it's not meant for shooting objects up close. Now, I searched all around online and couldn't find the exact specifications, but I ran a measurement test myself, and it seems that the minimum focus distance is right around 10 inches or 26 centimeters. Anything closer than this and it gets really blurry and out of focus. So what do you do with all this information? Well, just remember not to move the camera too close to your subjects, and definitely don't try for those macro flower shots. For example, if you're vlogging yourself, place the GoPro on a selfie stick. Put some space between you and the camera for optimum focus. Plus, it's a wide angle lens, so even if you get too close, there's gonna be more noticeable distortion on your face, which just never looks good. Now, tip number 4 is actually kind of funny. I was gonna tell you to always turn on Protune whenever you can. However, funny enough, when I was shooting some side-by-side tests, I actually couldn't find a clear difference in the footage. Now yes, with Protune turned on when recording 4K 60 FPS, the video bitrate increases from 65 megabits per second to 85. This can be a great thing when you're doing post-processing or color grading on the footage, or let's say you want to record in manual exposure settings or a flat color profile or in low light situations. All of this is capable under Protune. However, if your workflow is like mine, I'm pumping out multiple videos every week, there's just no time for color grading, I select the default GoPro color profile anyway, which I think looks great as is, straight out of camera. Then we zoom in on our side-by-sides or freeze frame and the footage looks very similar. I even went to Reddit and a few people agreed it's too similar to tell, and honestly, any slight differences you might see could easily be the differences in our viewing monitors. Like what I see on my iMac 5K is clearly going to look different than your smartphone screen or TV or whatever. So I guess the final tip here is that if you need to do some color exposure grading, then yes, turn on Protune, but if not, then maybe go ahead and leave it off for some smaller file sizes. Do you guys agree with me or disagree? Let me know down in the comments. And last tip, number 5, make sure you dig into the settings and turn on auto rotation. This one has been a lifesaver for me. I'm often shooting with a selfie stick. I flip it upside down for those ultra low angle, fast-paced scooter shots or whatever. And it's a pain to have to rotate that footage in post. So instead, just toggle this little gem, turn it on auto in the settings, and it'll auto rotate for you depending on which way the GoPro is rotated. Oh, and as a bonus tip number 6 for you hardcore friends watching till the end, I always remove the charging port door. It gets in my way, slows me down, and this way I can leave it in the frame attachment and still charge the camera, or even use an external mic if I need to. Now just remember, if you're going underwater, snap this baby back on there or you're gonna be down a creek, pun intended. Now there's a lot more to learn and play with on this Hero 6. Let me know if you wanna see more of these tips and tricks camera videos in the future, or if you have any pro tips yourself, leave a comment down below. The GoPro Hero 6 Black is currently down to $399 with Amazon Prime. I'll give you the link to check it out down below. If you're new around here, hit subscribe and ring the bell to stay up to date on all my future tech videos. Until next time, let's live AuthenTech.